I'm ready to call the regular meeting of the Fairfield Planning Commission of January 26, 2022 to order. Mr. Feinstein, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Cruzen?
Present.
Commissioner Evans?
Present.
Commissioner McDonald? I saw
mute here. Yes, sorry.
Commissioner McDonald. Let's see, Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Smith, is that present?
I'm here.
Commissioner Werblin?
Present.
Vice Chairperson Childs?
Present.
And Chairperson Matthews?
Present. All right. Commissioner Cruzen, may we ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Right.
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Information to the public. Persons wishing to address the Planning Commission on subjects not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission may do so, provided that no action may be taken on off-agendized items except as authorized by law. Off-agenda items from the public will be taken under consideration without discussion by the Commission and may be referred to staff. Comments will be accepted via Zoom. When joining via Zoom, please use the raise the hand function feature or press *9 on your phone to request to speak. You will then be called on by name and will have 3 minutes to speak. The next item is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda, Mr. Feinstein?
No, there are none.
Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Did we have a motion first?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
And a second?
Second.
And may we have the roll call vote, Mr. Feinstein?
Sure. Mr. Chair, if I can just clarify, I think we're on approval of the agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's what I have.
Yeah. Commissioner Childs, your motion is to approve the agenda. Is that correct?
Let me amend my motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Okay. And we had a second. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did second.
Okay. Okay. Roll call vote. Commissioner Cruzen?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans? Oh,
you're muted.
Commissioner Evans, you're muted.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
And Commissioner Werblin?
Yes.
Commissioner Vice Chairperson Childs?
Affirmative.
And Chairperson Matthews?
Yes. Okay. The next item is approval of the minutes of January 12th, 2022. Are there any changes to the minutes?
Not from staff.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And Mr. Feinstein, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Yes. Commissioner Cruzen?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Same.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Werblin?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Childs?
Yes.
And Chairperson Matthews?
Yes. Okay, the next item is public comments. As previously mentioned, this is a time for the public to speak on items not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the planning commissions. Items from the public are not part of the agenda and will be taken under consideration without discussion or action by the commission, except as authorized by law, and may be referred to staff. I now open the public comment period via Zoom. Are there any comments? I now close the public comment period. The next item is scheduled matters. For each agendized item, there will be a presentation by city staff. For items that involve application requests, I will then ask the applicant to address the commission if they so desire. Then I will open the public hearing via Zoom. I will close the public hearing after all comments have been provided and after all of our questions regarding the testimony during the public hearing have been answered. After the public hearing is closed, the Planning Commission will deliberate on the item and may have additional questions of staff. We cannot take additional testimony or questions from the public after the hearing is closed. The commission will then vote on the item. The first item is item A, a continued public hearing on a request by Kevin English / Discovery Builders, Inc. to subdivide a vacant 1.73 acre site off of Midway Road into 14 single family duets and associated site improvement. Our staff person is Meili Sheehan, and I now will ask you to proceed with the presentation.
Hello, everyone. I apologize, my image is a bit dark. It's the wonderful lighting I have in my office. I'm going to get a share screen going here. All right. Thank you guys for your patience. My name is Meili Sheehan, and I will be presenting the item tonight, Midway Meadows. The project is located at the end of Midway Road on a vacant 1.73 acre site, and it is currently zoned RLM, or Residential Low Medium Density. Here we have a contextual map to give you a better idea of where the project is located in the city. You have, of course, Midway Road and Woolner Avenue that runs across. Right here is Beck Avenue, Catanasso Drive, and then at the top of the screen, we have Automall Parkway. You can see through the Google indicators, we have the Home Depot Target Shopping Center. Across the way here is the DMV. And then just off the screen at the top is the 99-cent store and the Fairfield Transit Center. The site has a general plan and zoning designation of RLM, again, residential low medium density. A quick project overview before we get into the details. The proposed project consists of a tentative subdivision map and development review application. The tentative subdivision map is required to create the proposed 14 lots and associated common areas. And the development review covers house plans, landscaping, and site improvements. Tonight, the commission will be asked to take action on the project based on findings for the general plan and zoning consistency, project design, and environmental review. Starting with the tentative subdivision map details, as previously mentioned, the site has a gross acreage of 1.73 acres. The site, or project site, I should say, is outlined in red here on the screen. These additional parcels here are not part of the project site. They're separately owned properties, and they're just on the map as context. The map would create 14 lots, as identified here. Additionally, the map would establish parcels for common improvements, such as a private road. The project would be accessed off of Midway onto this private loop road to provide circulation to each of the lots. And then, of course, out and around back onto Midway Road as necessary. The project proposal also includes 2 small parking areas highlighted in purple here. You have 3 spaces to the west and 11 spaces to the east. Getting some of that off the screen so we've got a clear view here. There are a few adjacent easements that I'd like to point out as well. The first easement here on the west side is a private utility easement. The project will not be impacting this easement. And then this western easement actually has 2 utility lines within it, although it's particular to the city of Fairfield. This easement is existing for a storm drain line. However, as part of this project, this easement will be quitclaimed or abandoned. Also within this area is a sanitary sewer line, and part of the project conditions will require a 5-foot easement to be dedicated to the Fairfield Sassoon Sewer District. I would just want to note that in your staff report, I believe it's stated 10 feet. However, it is a 5-foot easement. And then lastly, at the top of the screen, I wanted to highlight another area. Here in yellow, adjacent to the project site, is a maintenance road that is owned by the city of Fairfield, and it's utilized to maintain the creek that runs along the project site here, or just adjacent to it, I should say. So moving along to the development review aspect of the project. The project is composed of 7 duets, or 14 units. This is consistent with the general plan and zoning ordinance density regulations for the RLM zone. Within the RLM designation, an applicant is permitted by right to develop 8 units an acre. The project proposal tonight is at the top end of the density range allowed, but it is consistent with city regulations. Therefore, it should be noted that the number of units or the density of the project is not subject to the Planning Commission's action tonight. The Commission may take action on the project from a general plan and zoning consistency, project design, and environmental review standpoint. Expanding on the project's zoning consistency, the RLM designation does not have a minimum lot size. But just for information and reference, the smallest lot proposed is approximately 2,870 square feet. City regulations limit lot coverage in the RLM zone to 50%. This project meets that requirement. And from a parking perspective, 2 parking spaces per unit are required by code, 1 covered, such as a garage space, and 1 uncovered, such as street parking, is required. For 14 units, this is a total of 28 spaces. The project proposes 3 spaces per unit, 2 covered garage spaces, and 1 uncovered space met through those small parking lot areas integrated into the project. So there are a total of 42 parking spaces provided. Shifting into the design review of the architecture, 3 floor plans and 2 elevations were proposed. On the screen now is a typical layout for the house plan house plan 1A and 3A. The building footprint meets all required building setbacks. And here are the floor plans for plan 1 and 3. On the left-hand side, you have the first floor. And on the right-hand side, you would have the second floor. I'd like to note that staff has included a condition, should the project be approved, to expand the depth of the porch element on plan 3 just so that it's a little bit larger and adds some more movement and shadow to that front elevation, ultimately providing a more interesting architecture feature. Moving on, this is the floor plan for Plan 2. Again, first floor on your left and second floor on your right. Wrapping up the architecture, here are some elevation renderings of the house plans. So although the color scheme is not offensive and it is compatible, it does not necessarily provide variety within the project. So therefore, a condition has been included that the applicant provide a wider color palette. Moving on to the landscape plan. Consistent with city code, the project proposes street trees, accent trees, and parking lot or shade trees throughout the site. A landscape plan proposed tree species that are compatible with the city of Fairfield's climate, and they are frequently used in our city. However, all of the species proposed were deciduous, meaning that their leaves fall in the winter. So a condition was included to require that the street trees be evergreen, meaning that they will have their foliage all year long, even during our cold season. In addition to the trees, the project also proposes shrubs, ground cover, and stormwater treatment areas. Bioretention basements or stormwater treatment are proposed on each of the lot to capture and filter stormwater runoff. You can kind of see them here lightly etched on each of the lots. Another condition has been included to require that these treatment areas are visually enhanced through appropriate plant species and hardscaping such as river rock. From a site improvement design perspective, the project provides all necessary infrastructure to serve the 14 lots. This includes private streets and utilities, street lights, the small parking lot areas, landscape, and the stormwater treatment areas. A condition has been incorporated for the project to establish a homeowners association or a property owners association or some similar private association to maintain these private common areas. Furthermore, as designed and conditioned, the project will also make frontage improvements to Midway Road at the cul-de-sac. And they will coordinate, they being the applicant, will coordinate with the Fairfield Sassoon Sewer District and PG&E for any additional improvements. So in summary, the project is accessed off of Midway Road by a private loop road. There are 14 lots to home 7 duets or 14 units. The project is overparked with 42 parking spaces, 14 of them being street parking. There are 3 floor plans and 2 elevation styles per plan. There is a landscape plan that includes plant palette and stormwater treatment areas. And lastly, the project will include all necessary infrastructure improvements. So throughout this presentation, I noted several conditions of approval should the commission motion to approve the resolution for this project. So here is just a brief summary. An HOA or POA, homeowners association or property owners association must be established for the maintenance of the common areas. A 5-foot sanitary sewer easement shall be dedicated to the Fairfield Sassoon Sewer District. Additional porch depth shall be incorporated for Plan 3. A wider variety of color schemes shall be provided. The street trees shall be an evergreen species. The stormwater treatment areas must be visually enhanced with appropriate plants or hardscape. And these last 2 items are associated with the construction of the project. So they didn't necessarily fit into some of my previous slides. The first one being a pre-construction survey for nesting birds. This survey will identify if there are any birds or endangered species on the site. Should they be identified, the project construction must halt, and there is protocol built in how construction could move forward. The second one, the tribal monitoring agreement, requires the applicant to enter into an agreement with the Yokadihi Wintun Nation, a local tribe for Solano County. This agreement sets protocols should any tribal cultural resources be discovered during construction. And this brings me to my last informational slide. In compliance with CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, the project was evaluated for environmental impacts and was found to be exempt per Class 32, which is an infill criteria. There are several items that must be met in order for a project to be exempt under this section. First being the project must be consistent with the general plan and zoning ordinance. The site must be less than 5 acres and surrounded by development. The site cannot have any habitat value for endangered, rare, or threatened species. And the project cannot have any significant traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality impacts. The project meets all of these criteria. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve Resolution 2021-23, granting tentative subdivision map and development review approval. Before I turn it over to the group, I'd like to note that the resolution has an error. The Commission is aware that staff has been coordinating with the applicant on several different conditions of approval, which is the reason this hearing was continued twice. So during this period of coordination, several of the conditions were revised or edited, and there was a section within the ordinance that was not revised accordingly. It's purely just an oversight. Prior to this meeting, you should have received an email with the revisions that are required. So should the commission wish to approve this project or motion to approve this resolution, please be advised that you'll want to include language that references the revised resolution. So I thank you for your time and attention. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. We also have representatives from other departments within the city, and our applicant is online as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheehan. And just because this is the first time you are in front of our commission after your promotion, we congratulate you on that recent elevation and appreciate, as always, your professional approach to what we do here. Commissioners, what questions do you have of Ms. Sheehan?
I had just a minor one. I know that in the report it said that the sewer easement was 10 feet and it's actually 5 feet. I guess my question is, does that pose any challenge?
It should not. We coordinated that condition between Fairfield Public Works staff, the Fairfield Sewer District, and the applicant. It was purely just a typo. So the 5 feet will suffice for the sewer district's needs, and the applicant is comfortable with that condition.
Okay.
Other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Sheehan. Would you mind displaying the contextual, I think it was the contextual map or maybe the slide after it? I'm just trying to understand the entrance. Is it one way into the development? And then you showed that loop. Could you just cover that briefly again, just to make sure I understand that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I stopped my share screen. I'm going to try again.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
And I'll go ahead and launch it. Okay, so this is a contextual map. So access would be off of Midway Road. So if you were to live at this project site, you would come down Midway Road, and then you would access your lot through this orange loop road. So you would come down Midway, and then, whichever unit you are, you would drive down and around, or if you turn down here on accident, or maybe you're a service vehicle or Amazon delivery, whatever it might be, you would come here, you could loop around, and then you would be frontward facing to exit down Midway.
Thank you.
I have a question also regarding that loop. Are there no other ways possible to get in and out? Like, is the applicant considering other ways, or is it all pretty much like set where it's not possible to build another exit?
So as you can kind of see from these other parcels that are bordering here, these are owned by other property owners. And so really the only access to this particular site would be down Midway Road. There is that private utility easement that I highlighted earlier. This property is owned by someone else. So unless the applicant were to purchase more property, the only way to access this site would be off of Midway.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't see some of the layout for the development. How many bedrooms? Are they all the same amount of bedrooms, or do they vary?
Sure. Sorry, we have to go through those. Here we are. So this is Plan 1 and Plan 3. So on your first floor, you have your garage, your dining, living, kitchen, and family, and a half bath. As you move upstairs, and I'm sorry, it's the same in Plan 3. And then as you move upstairs, there is a owner bedroom, and then 2 other smaller bedrooms. So you have 3 bedrooms in the Plan 1, and then moving over to the Plan 3, it's a similar makeup. There's an additional bedroom. So you have 4 bedrooms in the Plan 3. And then looking at Plan 2, again, the bottom floor is kind of your entertainment, your living space, and your top floor are your bedrooms. In the Plan 2, there are 4 bedrooms proposed.
Okay. And do you know how much what the pricing is looking like? Are these like more leaning towards affordable, or leaning towards more luxury units?
So I would have to defer that to the applicant to address. I'm not sure where their marketing stands at this time.
Okay. I think that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sheehan, I neglected to ask, when the previous diagram, you mentioned there's 2 parking lots. Now, are those parking lots designed for the resident, or is that for a visitor coming into the development?
So from our zoning standpoint, we do require 1 uncovered or off-site, if you will, parking or on-street parking. It's not necessarily designated for the homeowner or a visitor. It's just how our ordinance is set up, that we provide 1 covered and 1 uncovered. Ideally, if you live here, you're parking in your garage. But should you want to park on the street, there's at least 1 space for your unit.
Thank you. And I didn't notice any public spaces or parklets or anything like that. I just want to make sure I didn't miss that.
No, you didn't miss that. For this particular project, there is just the private open space, essentially in your backyard.
Thank you.
Maylee, could you go back to the aerial view?
Sorry, I have to get through some of those. Here we are.
Yeah, right there. Can you approximate where the border is on the side closest to Auto Mall Parkway would be?
I'd imagine so. Sorry.
That there?
Yeah, moving forward, if you can see, these are the 3 homes. And so here are those 3 homes. So I'd imagine this is roughly the border.
And I know it's a more complicated question, but were the applicant to own that adjacent parcel to Auto Mall Parkway, would the planning department be supportive of access there, or does that is that too busy of a thoroughfare there?
For that question, I would rather defer to our traffic engineering team. I believe Tina is on the call here tonight. There's magical background people that are bringing her on. Thank you for your patience.
Sorry about that. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, that would actually be, well, the applicant submitted a transportation assessment, and in terms of trip generation, there will be about 15 peak hour trips in the AM and 14 peak hour trips in the PM. So that's below the city's threshold for a residential area. So theoretically, it would not be a significant transportation impact. But in terms of access, I would say that's up to the applicant to decide whether or not that would geometrically work or function properly. And of course, you know, whether or not that would create any noise complaints from the neighboring houses, the 3 houses that are existing now.
Right. Well, I guess it's sort of irrelevant because that is not before us now, but knowing that there are some public concerns about that, I wondered if that had been explored in any conversations previously.
Good evening, planning commissioners. This is, oh, sorry to interrupt. This is Alvin Lay, senior civil engineer for the Public Works Department. Maybe, sorry, Tina, I just wanted to chime in real quick here. If the developer had an interest in purchasing the property that was adjacent to Auto Mall Parkway, and if they wanted to, maybe this would be a good question for the developer to kind of chime in on what kind of options they've explored about interest in that property. If they did decide to pursue with purchase of that parcel and did express a desire to gain access to their subdivision via Auto Mall Parkway, typically as part of the project entitlements, we would require the project applicant to submit a traffic assessment as well as adequate analyses and studies that would kind of identify if access from Auto Mall Parkway is feasible. And then furthermore, we would need to discuss with our city traffic engineer just to see if there's any design considerations for Auto Mall Parkway, which, as the commissioners are aware of, is a major arterial. So we would need to take a look at that if that was something that the applicant desired to investigate.
If I may, I'll add just one more layer to this. I have a feeling, I'm not positive, we can find it on the next couple screens here. That particular site is not zoned for residential development. So you can see here, this pink color is commercial. It's commercial regional highway, and same with the general plan over here. So again, in this hypothetical scenario, should that property be purchased, assuming they would want to use it for residential use, they would have to go through a general plan amendment and a zone change for that to occur.
That's an excellent point. Thank you for bringing that out. Before we open up to the developer and our public hearing portion, are there any more questions from commissioners to staff? Hearing none, I am going to open the meeting to the public. Do we have anyone on Zoom that would like to speak?
Yes. So good evening, Chairperson, members. I'm Zachary Wright. I'm with Discovery Homes. It continues to be a privilege to be a part of this wonderful community, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have. I did take note of a few questions that you had. I do want to note on the bedrooms, our Plan 3 is actually an option for 5 bedrooms. It has an option to up to 5 bedrooms. As far as pricing, we are not pricing this as an affordable project. We are looking at workforce housing and above to be able to accommodate that need in the city. One of the other items that was mentioned was parking. Knowing that this is going to be an HOA, we are going to do our best with the CC&Rs to encourage all the residents, the homeowners, to park in their garages and leave those spaces opened. Again, that's going to be self-policed by the HOA. And then as far as the secondary access for the auto mall, I know there is a consideration for that, but one of the key factors or elements that why we don't consider it a real viable issue is knowing that this is a private community, it does turn into being a cut-through street where they're going to be cutting through this new development to get to the Auto Mall Parkway, or from the Auto Mall Parkway back into that development. So that was one of we did consider it, but it was something that we didn't think was a viable solution and something that would be more problematic in the future. As far as that, I'm here to answer any other questions you have, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. And it might be helpful if you also just briefly mention some of the other projects that you and your firm have been involved in, just to give some context as to your involvement here with the city.
Yeah, so my personal experience with the city is I've been working in the city for 8 years. I can tell you that Discovery Homes has had projects in Cordelia, Paradise Crest, up by Gold Ridge, and then villages at Fairfield, and have been active throughout the city of Fairfield. They've had 2 infill projects just like this within the city of Fairfield that has been very successful in cleaning up areas. One that I'd like to point to is off of Air Base Parkway, right off of 80. That was an infill project that we had put together. So as far as the family's been, as far as this company's been around in this area for 30 plus years.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have questions for the applicant?
I do, actually. I just want to clarify. So you're saying that the 3-bedroom is for Plan 1, and then Plan 2, you actually have an option to go up to 5 bedrooms?
So the Plan 3 has an optional 5th bedroom.
And then that still would be 3 parking spaces allowed. That would be 2-car garage and then 1 street parking. And when we say street parking, we are talking about still within the particular area that this development is going to be in, not actually like on the street in front of, if it makes sense, in front of the other homes that are already there.
Correct. We are not including any parking on Midway.
Okay, on Midway, but the option where you have I'm sorry, I'm a little frazzled tonight. The option where you can go up to 5 bedrooms, it would still be the same amount of parks, though.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yes. Mr. Wright, I was just curious if there were any thought to single level homes for our senior or aging population?
In this location, we were really trying to maximize what we could get. It's not a very big site, and we found that there was a really big need for workforce housing out in this area as well. So it wasn't a position that we looked at. I know there's other places within the city that we definitely are looking at those scenarios, but not at this particular location.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add one detail on the parking issue. Just to clarify, each of the houses has a 2-car garage and a driveway for the 2-car garage. So essentially there's 2 covered spaces and 2 uncovered spaces on the site, plus the 14 that are in those 2 little parking bays. So there's really 5 spaces within this project for every house. So,
and just to follow up on that, Maylee, didn't you mention that exceeds the requirement that the city has for parking?
Correct. In this zoning designation, we only require 1 covered and 1 uncovered.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Do we have any members of the public on Zoom?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm homeowner here, 198 Midway, right on the corner. And have you guys given any thought the impact we're going to have of traffic going in and out with these 14 homes in there? And what's the impact going to do to us, our neighbors that live here? I own 2 homes here in this area here. So it's to the builder. And that's the only thing I'm against of. It's just the impact that we're going to have. And if there's any work going to be done over the weekend.
All right. Thank you for your comment, Sergio. And we'll address that as we move forward. I think before we address that, are there any other public comments that we should hear?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Christy Lash on Midway Road. And I just feel that the traffic and the parking is going to overflow on Midway Road, no matter how many parking spaces you give to these homeowners. And it will impact us tremendously. We already have quite a few disputes in our court on that issue now. And to have 14, or actually 28 cars, plus, I don't know,
all these people,
5 people per household, and probably teenagers, you know, which I like teenagers, but anyway, that's all I had to say. It's going to really impact our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for expressing your concerns. Again, before we respond to any of the issues on parking and traffic, let's make sure we hear the balance of the comments from the public. All right. Just by way of clarification, do we leave the public hearing open and respond to those questions, or do we close the public hearing portion and then go into deliberations?
So, Mr. Chair, the standard practice is to close the public hearing after all speakers have spoken.
Right. Okay. So I will now close the public hearing period, and we'll move into deliberation with the commissioners on the issues of this development and the concerns that have been raised by adjacent landowners. What are your thoughts?
If I can go first here, I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Zach, and thank you, Discovery Homes, for all of your hard work, determination, and dedication to the city of Fairfield. You've done a lot of wonderful projects and really appreciate that. You had mentioned one of the projects that I just want to point out to make sure everybody really understands the impact that particular project had out there on the Atlantic Street area off of Air Base and I-80. I mean, that was really a bad eyesore and just a drug-filled eyesore for the city of Fairfield, and bulldozing that area and then subsequently putting in the new housing that you did has really transformed that area, transformed the values, and transformed the safety for a lot of people in the neighboring areas. And I think this is a similar project minus the blight that exists there, because right now it's just a vacant lot, but it is a hub for attracting what continues to be a really big problem, and that is homeless encampments that can just set up in places like that are perfect for them because they're back behind residential areas. They're off of the highway main streets, and they get to do that. And that's a constant fight that the city has to fight. And I think that while this may appear to be high density, I think if you really look at what they're doing by doing duets, you're really looking at 7 primary residents that would most likely be equal to like 25 to 3,300 square feet as a home. And they've cut those in half and created duets. That doesn't take away the fact that I think you're going to be looking at families of 3 to 5 people living in those homes, and or just executives looking for a place to live, because quite honestly, even though we have a pandemic and a lot of people living at home, you still have a strong desire in the city of Fairfield for the transient worker who works somewhere else and needs affordable housing in a place that they can call home, that they can have easy access to the 12, 680 and the 80, which gets them just about everywhere. And I think this is a great project. I don't want to dismiss the concerns of the neighbors who live in and around Midway. And I do think that going in and out, the way they've designed it is actually relatively easy. And having those additional 14 parking spaces is a really big plus. If you were to drive through the condo duet development over in the lakes in Green Valley, you would see a very similar development, but more like 100 units, but very similar in the sense that there's really 2 entrances, but still you come in, go around, and then there are designated parking spaces. I love the fact that there's a 2-car garage. I love the fact that you've got a driveway to put additional cars in. I don't think you're going to see 4 or 5 cars per household here. I don't think you're going to see spillage over on Midway. I think this is an excellent development for that particular area, and I think it's safe. The only question that I don't think anybody asked, and I'm assuming is okay, just because I'm aware of the zoning ordinance and how the emergency vehicles work. But that the fire department doesn't have any issues with the access to that area. And I'm assuming if they did, we would know about that by now. And maybe Dave, saying you can address that a little bit. But I love the project and think it's a home run. So thank you, Zach and Discovery, for bringing that to the city of Fairfield.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonald. Appreciate those comments and observations. Other thoughts?
I really like the idea of the project as well. I actually drove out there and took a look at it, and I think it's a great idea for that particular space, because it is awkward when you go down that court and there's just nothing there. And I can completely understand the concern about parking and traffic flow, but there's many of courts in Fairfield that are bigger than that have just as many or more people, and it's the same type of, it's a court. And I don't think that traffic is going to I don't think it's going to flow onto Midway, because honestly, I think it'll be more of a headache to try to park on Midway and then walk into the court where you live or where you're visiting someone. And the fact that the project is going to offer 2 covered parkings and then 2 uncovered parkings, I think that that will be sufficient. The only concern that I have is about a 5-bedroom. Because nowadays, I think we all are aware, we know that, you know, most of the time it's not going to be one person in a bedroom. Most of the time, you know, when you get a 2-bedroom home, you know, you're going to have 3 people in it, maybe 2 kids in 1 bedroom and maybe 2 adults in the other. So that's the only thing that I would have a concern about, is that option for a 5th bedroom. I think that the 3 and 4 option is fine and it's suitable for the neighborhood, but that 5th bedroom does give me some pause. But other than that, I really like the idea of this project.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Any other comments?
Yes, I just wanted to briefly say that I think overall, I do think the infill development is a good one. I think without being repetitive of some of the fellow commissioners, their points, that, you know, it does exceed some of the parking requirements. So I'm hoping that makes up for a little bit of the concerns that people have in sort of that a little bit of an awkward space. I think if there are a lot of guests, especially if you're having people that have 4 or 5 bedrooms and they have people over, you know, I think that is a challenge, but I'm hoping that since the amount of spaces exceed what is required, that I'm hoping that offsets that. And overall, I think it could be a good project.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. I would also like to just echo the comments that have been made, and then add that Fairfield is in desperate need of additional housing. And this is a project that in a small way helps address that concern. And that it is as has been mentioned, infill, which I think is really beneficial for the city, and some of the concerns that Commissioner McDonald raised earlier. If there are no other questions or comments, may I have a motion on the amended resolution?
I will make a motion that the Fairfield City Planning Commission for Resolution PC 2021-23, the amended version, be put forward for approval with the council. I don't know if there's anything else I need to add to that.
And just for clarification, does that meet the requirement that we need to, given the changes?
Yes, he did say amended, and it's amended per the change that Meili Sheehan had identified.
And is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Feinstein, may we have the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Cruzen?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Werblin?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Childs?
Yes.
And Chairperson Matthews?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. That concludes the agenda items for action. May we have your director's report, Mr. Feinstein?
Sure. Just a couple of items for the report. I'd mentioned at the last meeting about the upcoming Planning Commissioners Academy that Cal Cities puts on. It'll be in San Ramon this year on March 16th through March 18th. That's a Wednesday through a Friday. And the city pays for the commissioners to attend. I hope to get something out to you but I see it wasn't until today that I got the schedule for that that I can forward out to you, as well as I'm waiting to confirm as to whether or not the city will pay for a hotel. My expectation here is that because it is in San Ramon, it's a little too close for the city to pay for a hotel. So most likely you'd need to commute back and forth, whether individually or as several together. And I'll have confirmation on that tomorrow to be able to get out to you. So tomorrow I'll send an email out to you with those details. And over the coming week, I'll look to see which of you are interested in attending that in mid-March. The other item I want to mention is at our last meeting, there had been a discussion of the Dutch Bros project, and with direction to come back with additional information on traffic flow and address some issues pertaining to the California Highway Patrol's comments. We have been working with both the applicant's engineer as well as met with the Highway Patrol. So we're moving through that. That item, though, was scheduled. We continued that until next meeting, which whatever the first the date of the first meeting in February. I don't have the date right in front of me at the moment, but the commission actually continued the item to that particular date. We now know that we're not going to be ready to come back on that date. So rather than continue to just roll it out without knowing, what we're going to do is as soon as we're ready to bring that back to you with the additional information, we'll renotice that to the public. And we, like I said, we've been in direct meeting with the Highway Patrol, so we'll make sure that they're fully informed about everything going on. So just know that.
Was there any?
We won't have that on our next meeting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Commissioner. Did you guys get anywhere with discovering what if that U-turn that used to be able to make a U-turn there, but is not now? Is there any update on that situation?
Yeah, we're still looking at it, and because we haven't really agendized this item for tonight's discussion, I can't really go into a lot of those details. But we'll make sure and come back with that information for you. So just know that it won't be at your next meeting as we had originally scheduled that for. At the moment, it doesn't look like we have anything on the schedule for the first meeting in February, though we definitely have some items tracking for the second meeting in February, so we definitely will have that meeting. So with that concludes my comments for the evening.
Thank you. Are there any comments from commissioners? I would just like to make two quick comments. Ms. Werlin and I are, as we mentioned last time, on the block grant HUD committee. And I just have to say, and Tina, you may want to chime in on this, it was really encouraging for me to see how many people are doing such a wonderful effort in our city to make it better. And unfortunately, we're not going to have the resources to fund all of the requests, but it was really encouraging.
I definitely agree with Chairperson Matthews. On one hand, reviewing all those applications, you get a little sad or melancholy thinking of all the conditions in the world, but then you see all the groups that are working to make changes in our city. So thank you.
And just so that the commission and public will know, the Planning Commission has a minimum of one seat on that committee. The other quick comment I was going to make is I am doubtful for the 9th. I won't know until next week, but I have a group of out-of-town consultants that will be in, and I just don't know what my schedule will be like for the 9th. So I'll communicate with you, Mr. Feinstein, if that materializes, and if we don't have a meeting, then there's no issue there.
Yeah, like I said, it looks like we don't have any items at the moment. So most likely that will be canceled.
Okay, any other comments before we adjourn? Hearing none, I now adjourn the meeting to our next scheduled meeting, February 9th, 2022. Thank you all for participating tonight, and we'll talk again soon.